Hey everyone, welcome to Mitch and the Kitch. Today we're talking steak, one of my favorite things to cook, one of my favorite things to eat, and there are so many ways to cook it. Let's get to it. As you guys follow me on social media, you know I like to cook it a few different ways. There's the traditional way, there's sous vide, and then there's reverse sear. So those are the three methods. I'm really excited to cook these and show you. Because the sous vide has the benefit of being able to just hang out for as long as we need it, we're gonna start with that one first, so let me show you what you need. So for sous vide, you need a few things. So I've got vacuum seal bags and a vacuum sealer. I've had this guy for forever. So the other part of it is a circulator. So on the back there's a clip. You can clip it to basically any container that can hold 150-degree water. I tend to just use Dutch ovens or stock pots that I have. It's really easy. Next thing is to get them in the bag. We got our sealer. So you just want to create an edge. And very easy, it just kind of trims it off, creates that first edge. And in that amount of time you can see it's sealed up. So from here what I like to do is flip up the end. But if you flip the lip over, you don't have to worry about that top section getting contaminated, getting dirty, having water on it. You'll see that when we go to fully vacuum seal it, why this comes into play. I have seen a couple people, I think it might have been Thomas Keller or someone like that, who recommended not doing this because the bag gets some sort of little bumps and nooks and crannies on it. So when you go to vacuum seal it, there's a potential that it doesn't get quite the seal that you want. He's like a 3-star Michelin chef, and he does everything as precise as can be. We're just cooking steak at home, so it's okay to do this, and for me it just creates the easiest method to get the steak into the bag. Okay, so it's time to season the steak. Because we're doing a taste test and a comparison, we're keeping it really easy. Just go and salt and pepper. It's taken me a while to find gloves that fit me, so I'm gonna get one right now, slip it on, and then we'll get to seasoning. Not the greatest fit, I think. So football-wise, I wear a 4X glove, not because of the fingers, but because of my palms. My palms are very wide, very large. Okay, we got salt. I'm using just straight kosher salt. Morton's kosher salt. There's also Diamond kosher salt, which is a little bit different, but I'm used to kosher salt. It's what I'm used to cooking with. It's got a good feel for me. It's kind of a little bit of a bigger flake, which I like. Pepper. We've got our bag. Open it up. Steak goes in. And from here, flip that over. Put that down, lock it into place. So here we go. As you can see, it's a very tight seal. It looks like, as you'd buy a frozen steak or a steak that's really well sealed in a store. It's completely tight to it, which is important because as it's in the circulator, all that water that's at 128 degrees is gonna touch the steak. It's not gonna touch air pockets that don't fully get onto the steak. So this guy's ready to go. We're gonna head over to our sous vide, just drop it in, and then 1 to 4 hours later, we got cooked steak, not ready steak. We still gotta sear it, but fully cooked steak. Method number 2, reverse sear. We got a baking sheet. I like using the rack because it gets the steak elevated, so it allows for airflow underneath. So for now, same as before, salt and pepper. What you could do at this point, before putting it into the oven, you could put a probe thermometer in here, especially if you're doing it for the first time or you're new to this. I would really go for the probe thermometer. Get it as kind of middle cut as you can, left and right, and also top to bottom. So for me, into the oven as is. Let's get that going. Going into a 250-degree oven. Nice and easy. As I said, this oven could be 225, it could be 275. 250 is kind of the sweet spot for me to still get it up to temp nice and slow and not have it take 2 hours to do so. So we have our last steak that we're gonna do traditional. So again, salt and pepper, really simple. Because it's going on the grill though, I'm gonna use a little bit of oil. So season your meat either an hour or 2 before and let it sit out and kind of dry out, or season right now, right before we're gonna go and grill this guy off. So this guy's gonna cook, rest 10 minutes. I'm gonna get sous vide on, I'm gonna get reverse sear on. They're gonna cook at the same time, and then it'll all come together. slice through them. I'll show you the differences. We'll taste them. We'll see how we did. Oh, we're perfect. 129, 128. Nailed it. That's a good feeling. All right, so we're gonna take this out. We're gonna tent it in foil. I'm gonna show you guys what the sous vide looks like. We're gonna let those hang out, and then we're gonna go out and grill these babies off. And here's a nice gray steak. Doesn't look the most appetizing. You can see very little juices in the bag, so that shows that all those juices are still in the meat. That's gonna make that really tender, really beautiful. So because this guy's wet, we definitely wanna dry it off really well as you can. One of the things with the sous vide is I feel like, a little bit of the seasoning gets removed. You can see some pepper here, some of the salt comes off. So I do wanna give this a little bit of another seasoning. Do it on here. I'm gonna do a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Again, we already seasoned it, so you don't need, another 100% of seasoning, but it's gotta get ready for its grill. So oil. These 3 steaks are ready to get out on the grill. These 2 just need to sear, fully cooked, need a crust, raw, need to cook it in full. Oh yeah, that's a good sound right there. Shut the lid, start a timer. So we're a minute 30 in, smoking away. Gonna get another part of the grill oiled. And you can see already, look at that crust. Beautiful crust. That's an advantage of using, this is a cast iron griddle. If you're cooking inside, if you're using a griddle pan, cast iron, stainless steel, whatever it is, that flat surface, it gets a really nice crust that sometimes grills can't do, especially a gas grill. All right, 4.5 minutes in, one little more spritz. Just again, a new surface, a little bit of oil. Oh man, you see that? Come on, look at that crust. So this is one of the huge advantages of cooking it traditionally, is that you'll see, these 2 steaks are not gonna be on this grill for that long. So you're able to really build this nice crust. After we slice into them, you'll see the downside, which is that there's gonna be a little bit more fully cooked gray part and not quite as much of that pink metal. All right, so we're about 6 minutes. I'm gonna get a temp on it, see how we're doing. It's looking great. Going to the thickest part. So we're still sitting only at 88 degrees. I thought it'd be a little bit more done, but that's okay. That's why we check at 6 minutes. I've had ones that are getting to the point of being done. So it's good to know, it's good to have your temperature. And now at this point, we're gonna do every minute. And so again, this goes fast. I don't want it to get away from us. Every minute we're gonna flip it, make sure that crust is even, and also check the temp just to make sure we're not getting past the point that we want it. We're at about 100, 103. And at this point, I feel pretty comfortable getting those other steaks on. I get sous vide on, check the watch. There's 1, here's number 2. Now those steaks we're gonna flip probably every 30 seconds, 2 minutes total. Just wanna get that crust and then you're done with it. This guy, 1 minute, time to flip. Again, really good crust. Flip. And you can see, just first flip. So see this crust compared to that one? A lot more crustiness, a lot better crust. You're able to do that because this reverse seared in the oven, got all nice and dry. This is still trying to expel some of the moisture, and so the sear takes just that little bit longer. Another 30 seconds, flip it. All right, this guy I'm gonna call. It was temping at about 118 just a few seconds ago. I think we're gonna be good to go here. Get that off. These guys just have a few more seconds going on a crust, and then we're gonna get them off. Reverse seared, coming off. We're done, time to rest. Okay, we brought our steaks inside. They've rested for about 8 minutes, which is more than I can stand. Sous vide. So you can see, beautiful crust. It's very firm to the touch. This crust is firm, but you can tell this one is just built up so much more. It spent 8 minutes total directly on that flat surface. Reverse sear did a good job. Sous vide did better than I expected it. It's looking really good as well. Now my favorite part, let's cut into these, show you the difference. So the first thing I noticed is what I really wanted to show you, and I'm glad it came through. So it's got a really nice, pink center, but there are, all these kind of gray, dark, fully cooked pieces of steak around it. And that's the downside, quote unquote, to the traditional method, is that as the heat gets all the way into it, it builds up all this cooked steak around it. So there's less actual, kind of medium rare doneness. So here we go, right down the middle. So you can see this one, a little bit of a grayness to it just in terms of searing it, but it was only on there for a couple minutes and a lot more red top to bottom. That's a real advantage to the reverse sear. You can see it there in full effect. Not quite as much red, basically top to bottom, fully red. Okay, let's try sous vide. This guy, really good crust, better than I expected. Oh yeah. So these are pretty similar in terms of, fully done. The sous vide looks a little bit lighter, but again, this has had time to kind of oxidize and air out. You can see basically top to bottom, a little bit of gray because that's going to happen because you got to apply that high heat to get that crust. But these two, way more of that pink. Whatever doneness you like, medium, medium rare, rare, medium well. You're going to get more of that with these two methods than this one. But this one, you're going to get that super thick, awesome crust that you associate with steak. Okay, so this shot is really apparent, sous vide, like absolutely perfect all the way through. Reverse sear, pretty much perfect all the way through. Traditional, fully cooked, well done pieces on the end. Awesome pieces in the middle, much thicker crust. But here you can see it fully sliced out. All the differences in the three methods. Please let me know which is your favorite. I always love hearing about how other people cook their steak. I love cooking it all these ways. My wife actually prefers reverse seared. It kind of gets like the texture of traditional, a little firmer, a little less, I guess floppy would be a term, probably not the greatest term, but not quite as tender as sous vide. Gets a good crust, that's her favorite. I like sous vide a lot. As I said, it is, a bit of a more tender piece, not quite the crust. I happily cooked all of them. I just like cooking steak and like trying all the methods. So for me, which one is my favorite depends on the day. For you, please let me know what you enjoy cooking. And if you do try one of these for the first time, I'd love to hear about it.